What is your question for the Mayor and team?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and your team. As an 84-year-old Londoner who loves my city and have lived here all my life, I'm rather saddened by the proliferation now of people riding scooters and bikes on pavements. In Oxford Street recently, I was nearly run down by one of these people, and when I challenged him, I was sworn at. Mr. Mayor, is there anything you can do about that, please? Thank you.
You weren't stagged.
Yes.
Yes, crack on, sorry.
Well, Joy, thanks for your question. I'll bring in Seb shortly to explain the challenges around regulation, but the short answer is we've got very little powers around scooters in relation to regulation of scooters. You're right, they are a health hazard, but actually scooters that are electric aren't allowed on pavements, and actually on our roads there are also laws in relation to that as well. The only scooters that are allowed are those that are the higher scooters, and there's regulations around that the council work on. I'll bring Seb in, the Deputy Mayor for Transport, to explain some of the lobbying we've been doing and some of the challenges that we have, because, Joy, you're not the first person to express concern about the dangers of electric scooters. Seb.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me? Sorry. I think my head is too big for the microphone. All right. Can you hear me, Joy? Thank you. As the Mayor has explained, we don't have the powers to regulate scooters on the streets. That is an issue that is reserved to national government. There is, or was, I should say, a proposal for legislation to enable transit authorities like TfL to be able to regulate. We are very, very supportive of such legislation and would hope that in whichever government is elected after the general election that we have those powers then to regulate, because clearly in a public space we need to have a sensible a mix of transport options. Micro-mobility, by the way, which is this sort of collective term for things like scooters and e-bikes, does have a role to play, but we want to make sure that we have the powers and ability to properly regulate it. And actually part of that story is also enabling people to think a bit more about how they share the public realm and how they use that space, and that's got to be a really important part of the picture as well.
And Joy, linked with this is the issue of these hire bikes that are left on the pavements, and they can be an obstruction as well, particularly for older people with buggies and stuff. People just leave them on the pavements. We're again working with the councils and the government to get regulation around those. They're called dockless hire bikes. The same issue arises there as well.
Yeah. How much money are those companies making? Do we know how much, especially Lime, which I know overtook the Santander bicycles, still very affectionately known in town as the Boris bikes. What's the sort of revenues?
They're very popular. I haven't got the figures time, but there are 4 companies ostensibly that have the dockless bikes. They're all doing very well for the reasons Seb said. People want to have these dockless bikes. The challenge is, because they're new, the regulation is not kept up to pace in relation to this. But at the same time, those who cycle or use a scooter must follow the law. The highway code, the law is not just for those who drive, it's for those who cycle as well and those who scooter as well. And the concern is they're not following the law, and there needs to be more enforcement, and the police are alive to that. I
don't want to steal your thunder, Joy, but I get really irritated by the really fast ones that are not the hire bikes. There's a bloke coming up Chiswick High Road today as I was tootling past at a very leisurely pace on my Lime bike, and he didn't have a helmet on, and he was on I don't know whether it's been souped up, but he was moving faster than you'd expect a sort of petrol-engined moped to move, and that's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, I think we all need to be mindful when we travel in any...
But I presume that's illegal.
That is illegal.
Yeah, but they're everywhere.
So they're adapting the bikes so they can go extra fast.
Yes.
But also we know they've been used by organised criminals as well to nick phones as well and to do those sorts of illegal activities. This is a gap in legislation. The police are taking enforcement action where they can, but your experience, James, and Joy's, I'm afraid, is not unique. We're hearing more and more examples of this. Some cities in Europe have now banned some of these e-scooters because of the proliferation and the dangers. And we're not quite there yet, but we do need some legislation.
At least I didn't get sworn at, Joy. I am sorry for your trouble. Seb, what is the law? What's the rule on the... Because I see a lot of Deliveroo and delivery drivers on the sort of electrified bicycles. They're legal, presumably.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously have different manufacturers and different standards. Some of the hire companies, by the way, with the dockless bike options, they are actually engaged in conversations with us about how they can ensure that people leave them in appropriate locations and so on. So it's not the case that they're just saying that we've got this product and it's a free-for-all, but clearly we need overarching legislation to be able to hold them to account. We just don't have that at the moment.
And obviously we can't veer into national politics, so it's just wait and see pie.